Welcome to my YouTube channel. And just keep your head up. Okay, now you see in the captions, the reparations have been put on hold in the California State Legislature. And I'm just going to just tell you to keep your head up. It's delayed but not denied. It's a whole lot going on in the world. And we got to figure this thing out. And when I say we got to figure this thing out, we got to understand, they lied to us and they're going to continue to lie to us, and they're going to continue to play with our emotions. They lie straight to our face. The California State Legislature, came back and the reparations bill has been put on hold. Senate Bill 1403 and Senate Bill 1331 are new amendments that the governor is requesting because the people, and this is one thing we got to understand, the people believe in these elected officials, but we got to understand the Constitution says we the people. So we literally have to understand what's really going on in the world today because they're playing with our emotions. We were expecting this to go to a vote. They had the votes and we were expecting this thing to actually pass and get to the governor's desk to be signed. But then we started to figure out the hanky panky. So we're just starting this broadcast here on YouTube, our partners and friends, and we're learning how the system works because this is a relationship. And I appreciate you guys sending me the information in terms of for the monetization that this is a partnership and you want to break bread. So there's certain things I can say, certain things that I can't do. So I'm going to adhere, to the agreement. OK, whether I read it or not. But once I click, click here or click there, it is what it is. But I want you guys to basically take a look at this clip. And there was I can't show videos because of copyright issues. But I got to let you know that this thing is growing and this thing is big. So let's go ahead and have this conversation. Let's go ahead and take a look at this real quick. Let me pull out. Okay, I'm figuring this thing out. All right. Let me see here. Let me go ahead and do that. Boom. Okay. Now let's take a look at this and I'll give some commentary. Take a listen.
That's right, Orko. This has been the big story mainly all day here. California's Legislative Black Caucus, which represents the black members of the state legislature,
they played us.
Confirmed that lawmakers will not move forward with those two key proposals. The first, SB 1403, which would establish a state agency to oversee the state's reparations efforts. The other, SB 1331, that would establish a state fund for reparations. So the blocking of these bills has angered protesters who've been in the Capitol Rotunda all day, yelling at lawmakers in the assembly to bring the bills up for a vote. State Senator Stephen Bradford said Governor Newsom's office asked him to make changes to the bill that would establish the state agency and to instead turn it into a study of reparations recommendations by the University of California. Bradford would not accept the changes, and he says the Legislative Black Caucus is afraid of the veto. But the leader of the Legislative Black Caucus, Assemblymember Lori Wilson, denied this. Bradford told us, though, the bills have the votes.
We're at the finish line. And I think we as a Black Caucus owe it to the descendants of chattel slavery. We owe it to Black Californians and Black Americans to move this legislation forward and get it to the governor's desk.
Now,
so a slap in the face, a big slap in the face. I mean, think about that. They were under the impression that they were going to push the reparations bill to Governor Gavin Newsom's desk. They put out studies. I myself have attended rallies and talks and, think tanks to have conversations. We even talked about how much the payouts would be. I even heard people speak, California was not a slave state, but they broke it down in a sense of what the reasoning as to why California will be responsible as well, because California was supposed to kick it off because, just like gang banging and all that, California started it all. And now you got 5 Deuce Hoover Crips in New York City. So think about that. So just imagine if this bill would have passed. So we got to understand that they're not going to give us anything. Okay, so we got to get to the point where we're going to take it, mentally, spiritually, and we got to figure it out in the ballot box, because they think that we're going to just sit back on our hands and feet and continue to just support these elected officials. And if you understand, our elected officials have been compromised. Okay, so we're in a situation where it's time to repeal and replace. And if they want to hold reparations, let's go ahead and hold our vote. And who cares by default who would win? Just like individuals would say, if you don't vote for the Democrats, okay, listen, I don't know no Republicans. I have not been hurt by Republicans. The Democratic Party has not been good to me, has not been good to my community, has not been good to my people. And it's the Democratic Party in the deep blue state of California and the Democratic governor who's playing these games and literally filibustering the reparations bill, because they got to the finish line and then they wanted to propose a Senate Bill 1403, which is to establish an agency, and then Senate Bill 1331, which will give $14 million to Cal State Northridge. You see that? They're playing us. It's a game. And the only way that they can continue playing this game if we continue to play with them. Okay, so let me give you some context to what's really going on in the world, because this is a thing. Okay, this is a thing. And I didn't do some research. I just went to some of the talking points and just wanted to show you what's going on, because after 2 years of intense public hearings, the California Reparations Task Force has voted in May of 2023. That's 2023, last year of May. And this is when we had all the meetings and the conversations to approve a more than 1,000-page document. So I'll get some ink in the copier. We're going to download at least the PDF and, at least find some meat in that 1,000-page document, including more than 200 recommendations for how to undo centuries of unfair treatment for Black Californians, especially descendants of enslaved people. It recommended California formally apologize for its role in enabling slavery and for the many tentacles of white supremacy in history. It also recommended that the state make cash payments. I'm going to say this again, that the state make cash payments to those whose ancestors were enslaved. Listen, I trace my history, and the reason that I go hard in the paint is because I trace mine. Okay, I'm gonna get me some bread. If any of these reparations bills were to pass or to go through, I qualify. I did the ancestry.com, did the DNA, and it took me to the Carolinas, where I found over 1,300 Glovers actually fought and documented as Union Black Regiment soldiers. So run me my money. So we got to understand that we cannot be baked in to a political system. And I know, as some of you don't understand that, but wisdom, we got to be wise now. Knowledge is power. So we got to understand that knowledge is the number one gift that God gives us. So we really got to make sure that we do what we need to do. And we can't do it attached to the party of slavery. And I'm going to say this again. We can't do it attached to the party of slavery, because they are playing with our emotions. It's a money laundering scheme. They're changing, switching everything up. You get to the finish line, the last day of the legislature for the season, for things to get voted in and for pass for this year. Now we got to wait till next year. And I got to let you know it's delayed but not denied. So let me give you some more context in terms of, let me see here. It's also recommended the state make cash payments to those ancestors were enslaved based on an economic modeling and the task force report estimate. An eligible Black resident who has lived 7 decades in California could be owed up to $1.2 million. So you're talking about individuals that's in their 70s, born in California or came to California, but been here for 70 years. You're talking about $1.2 million. So you wouldn't hold your vote for $1.2 million. Think about that. Think about that. So if you can hold your vote for $1.2 million, think about that. So your vote costs $1.2 million. But if you go on that ballot, oh, vote blue no matter who. Oh, we got to vote for Kamala. We got to do this and we got to do that. If we don't vote, Trump going to win. Listen, you got $1.2 million on the line. Okay, you've been here for 7 decades and you've made it. And you call yourself a so-called Christian and a believer. So no matter what happens or who's in office, God got it. Just understand that. God got it. Just understand that. This is what, that gets me kind of frustrated a little bit. But while the majority of California surveyed support and apology, they are weary of cash payments. As of September of 2023, poll in UC Berkeley Institute of Governmental Studies showed the opposing payments by a 2-to-1 margin. So, and I guarantee you, the ones opposing payments are literally just leaning towards the group, the wide road with the Democrats. Now, this thing is crazy, and they got some other studies going on. And let me see here. Boom. Okay, we saw that already. And listen, man, let me see here. Now, this was a couple days ago. California reparations bill unraveled over Gavin Newsom's amendments. Think about that. Why would the governor unravel reparations? And they say they don't have any money. Well, that's not the case. That's a lie. So let me give you some context before I basically move on. And let's see here. Now, the governor's office cited cost pressures during a year in which the state had to trim billions from its budget, according to the state senator who backed the measures, had to trim billions. So it's starting to seem like Mr. Bradford there, okay, is basically a lawyer for the governor, and he's basically doing the lawyer's dirty work. I mean, he's come out. He even got the wireless lapel mic on his body to do to talk to the people. So it seems like he's being used as a pawn in the bigger scheme, because I've dealt and been in a room with Bradford surrogates, and one of them name is a rapper from Compton, Columbo Black. And he didn't think I recognized him. Came up in there in a task force meeting talking about ain't gonna be no payouts. Like, fool, you better knock that off, because you don't really understand what's going on, because our elected officials are hired guns. And Stephen Bradford out of Gardena, he's termed out. So he's going to be running for higher positions, so he's termed out. So he's basically working on his next job. And his job is to appease the people, talk to the people, make the people think that this thing will never, has nothing to do with him, because he's the pawn on the chessboard of a bigger scheme or a bigger scandal. Okay, now a California state lawmaker is blaming, Stephen Bradford is blaming Gavin Newsom. And he can do that because that's the game. Okay, he's blaming Gavin Newsom for stalling of key slavery reparations bills on the final day of the legislative session. Okay, now Democratic Senator Stephen Bradford and other advocates backing the state's multi-year effort to repair harms from institutional racism, says Newsom's aide pushed to dramatically narrow a proposal for a state reparations agency. So they pushed for a reparations agency outside of cash payouts. So they want to put SB 1403, an agency, and then they want to push SB 1331 to basically a state fund to go to Cal State Northridge. It's a money laundering scheme. Now, the changes mean the state would instead simply authorize a further study of the issue. So it looks like it's not denied, it's delayed. Now, draft amendments obtained by Politico Saturday, but dated Monday, proposed sending $6 million to California State University to study how to implement recommendations from the state task force reparations, including how to confirm the status of a person seeking reparations. The draft changes remove the bill's core purpose, creating a new Freedmen Affairs agency. So they basically want to start all over again. And, just continue to play this game. and it's delayed but not denied. So clearly it's not going through. So we're going to have to understand that we got to move forward, and we got to do our due diligence as Americans, and we got to hold on to that Constitution, because the Constitution says we the people. So when individuals want to argue and debate and say that there's no funding and there's no money, it's crazy, because you got to understand that, we're living in a day and time that we got to, as people, understand what's really going on. We got to understand what's really going on, because when they say there's no money, that's crazy. That's crazy, because they, like I said, they could print that money up, but they say it's not no money. Okay, so let me see here. So I'm just going to share my screen with you once again to give you some context and some information, because when they say it's not any funding. Okay, now Measure M was on the ballot in the midterm elections, and it passed by a very slim margin. And it looked like the governor had tears in his face, because his job was to get this bill passed, because the job is to continue, when they say trim monies, they want to move money other places and allocate them to other places. So therefore, the money won't be available, so they can actually continue to do what they do, because their job is to, to lie to us, to play us, to coon to us. And then when we get right to the finish line, want to make some changes. And then on the last day of the state assembly sessions for the year, and then all of a sudden they get pushed back again. So all I'm saying is, what don't kill you make you stronger, and what doesn't kill us make us stronger. So now this is our rally cry to do what we need to do. So when they say it's not enough money, Measure M in the state of California, this is dated November 3rd of 2023. In the first 5 years, Measure M, let me see here, 4.5 billion. Let's get to the meat of it. $4.5 billion was raised. Okay, was raised. Let me see here. Measure M generated basically a $95 million infrastructure bond. $95 million. $95 million. And let's go ahead and let me see here. Let me see here. Let me see here. Now check this one out. Check this one out. Department of Homeland Security has granted, let me see here. Let me find it. So the Department of Homeland Security, this is some new stuff. So let me go ahead and find it. I can actually do the research while I'm on the screen. And I can't wait to we start, getting the audience up and start having these conversations, because I'm amazing with Q&As, and we can continue to have these conversations. But we got to figure this thing out, because it's crazy how, the bait and switch. It's crazy how the bait and switch thing is going on. And it's the funniest thing ever, because they make us, believe that they love us, but there's no love. There's no love. And we got to understand that there is no love, man. There is no love. And we got to understand that. There's no love. Okay. And here it is right here. Here it is right here. I found it. Let me see. Let me share my screen. Okay. There we go. Now, Los Angeles, to get 21.8 million in federal money to help shelter migrants. And this was dated August 30th. Now, the city of Los Angeles will get 21.8 million in federal funds to help house and provide services to newly arrived migrants, including migrant children living on Skid Row, announced on the day of. So just think about that. Just think about that. Why did they go site specific and allocate $21 million to illegal immigrants and migrants? That's not, think about it. That's politics. Okay. Just imagine if they say, okay, well, we got 21 million from the Department of Homeland Security, so we're going to allocate that as a first payouts, and we'll figure this thing out. That would actually help the reparations cause. But when you're dealing with, politics, you got to understand, if you're in the car with the Democrats, then, you got to go to the bathroom when the car stops. OK, if you're in the car with the Democrats, then you got to, eat when the Democrats say eat. OK, and if you're in the car with the Democrats and you're not driving, and if you are driving, you got to drive or ride to the destination that they tell you need to ride or be driven or drive to. So when you talk about reparations, it's a nonpartisan issue. This is an issue that the American people are going to have to understand. The Black American people are going to have to understand that it's a game, and we can no longer be included in what they're doing. We can no longer practice what they're practicing. And we're going to have to come together and understand that we got to make a move collectively as a people. And if they want to hold reparations, let's have the conversation of holding our vote. We got a major election coming up. November 5th will be a big one. OK, and the two presidential candidates, one's running on the economy and the other one's running on abortion. OK, but Black Americans, African Americans are literally baked into the party because they have followed the science, our leaders of Willie Lynch. And we are sitting back and not understanding that we got to separate ourselves. So this is our moment in time. So just imagine if Rosa Parks, got up and went and sat on the back of the bus. How long would it have been before they desegregated the buses? OK, just imagine if our fearless leaders, didn't, sit down, and the whites onlys didn't, stage the sit-ins and didn't fight for desegregation. OK, now just imagine if they didn't and we established our own, then maybe we could have some type of partnerships in America because we will have Black wealth. But what segregation did is basically took away our Black wealth. Because we had a Negro League before we integrated the Major League Baseball. We had, basketball teams, the Globetrotters and different, the different basketball teams and programs and our own circus and, our businesses, Black Wall Street and all these other things, because we had our own dentists, we had grocery stores, cleaners, doctor's office. We had to facilitate our own bare essentials. And there were individuals, Black individuals, that actually went and basically cut deals, with white men in a time that it wasn't, cool for Blacks to be in certain parts of the country, in the South, in certain towns, when the sun went down. But we as a people got to figure this thing out and come together and make sure that we know that this time around, we're not going to fall for the okie doke. We're not going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe. We're not going to fall for the Charlie Brown, the removal of the goalposts, because every time we get to the goal line, they just move it. And it's frustrating because just imagine if you put, your life works into reparations and then you get to the finish line and then the governor's office come back and basically says, OK, add Senate Bill 1403, which will create an agency, and add 1331, which will create a state fund that will give $14 million to the Cal State University system. That's crazy. That's a slap in the face. And they're playing with our emotions. And I've seen Al Sharpton ask the vice president, straight to her face, when you are elected, will you sign a reparations bill? She said yes, and busted out laughing. And when I think that she laughs, no disrespect to her, but if somebody's laughing, they're not serious, meaning they're just lying to your face and they're just playing the game. So a lot of times, they tell us to play the game, but the game is not working for us. So how can we continue as a people to just be played? So my question is, what's next? That's my question. What's next? So when they boycotted the busing system, would you consider boycotting the presidential election? Think about that and get out of your emotions and get out of your feelings, because it's not flesh and blood, because flesh and blood is giving $21.8 million to the LA to house migrants. OK, and the Democratic Party is pretty much putting up a blockade or telling our legislators that they can't, move forward with a reparations bill that's already been introduced and passed. They already had the votes. Sheila Jackson Lee, she implemented a reparations bill, on the federal level, which is called HR 40. It was passed. And now you go to the government website. It basically states introduced, because you have federal reparations bills that was basically pushed during the George Floyd riots and played by Sheila Jackson Lee. And remember John Lewis that just got the statue. So now these individuals are no longer here. And these were the ones that was fighting for us. And now that they have been deceased, God rest their souls, now you have these individuals that's pushing a different narrative and a different agenda because they don't want things to happen. So I want to ask you, reparations people, how do you feel? How do you feel? And one of my favorite songs, Prince, how does it feel? How does it feel to be played by your own people? And when I say by your own people, by your own team. Because if you're riding with the Democrats, you're riding with the Democrats. The Democrats is not going to give black people nothing. OK, they put an Asian hate crime bill out there. They have a Jewish hate crime bill out there. Where's the black and brown hate crime bill? Oh, it's called prison. Think about that. And the only way that they continue with the sham is because we allow them to do that, because we don't want to have a real adult conversation. When you're in a marriage, sometimes you have to sit back, go to the kitchen table and have a conversation of what we're going to do. And if you love each other, you're going to love each other, but you're going to do what's right for the family. So if you don't have a family and you bust up the family, then therefore you're never going to take care or handle what we would call family matters. So now we're dealing with, a broken house. We're dealing with a crab bucket syndrome. We're dealing with divide and conquer. And now they're forcing us to make a decision on abortion or the economy. Because the last election was lesser of the two evils. They can't say that because it's a proven fact that evil is evil. OK, if you're going to get killed or murdered, there's no difference between killed or murdered. There's no difference between trash and garbage. So there's no difference between the lesser of the two evils. OK, because if you're going to get raped, so by either party, and I'm talking about the black race. So are you saying we have to choose our rapist? And the only entity or individual that will choose that is somebody that does not love themselves. OK, because if you loved yourself, you will basically deal with the consequences. I am not getting raped by nobody, and I'm going to deal with the consequences. But if you don't love yourself, you will say, well, he's just going to physically rape me, and take away, something that I don't want to give up. But the other one going to rape me and slap me. That's insanity. That's mental illness. That's the mindset of somebody that don't love themselves. And that's the mindset of somebody that doesn't love God. And that's the mindset of somebody who does not believe in God. Because now, as a man, I can only look at the mistake that Adam made. And the only mistake that Adam made is that he hearkened into his woman, and he has to hearken to God. So now God has ordained that a woman be on the ballot, and he's looking at the black man saying, so you're going to believe in her other than me? So you got to make a choice. You're going to vote for her, or you're going to write my name in. And that's the movement that we're doing, because we have to separate ourselves and become the remnant so we can fight for legislation that's going to do right by God's people. OK, and it seems, kind of strange when people sit back and say, oh, you want to give cash payouts? And OK, listen, we've been blackballed. OK, we've been dealing with affirmative actions. We've been dealing with DEI. It's the same soup, just reheated. And all they're doing is just picking the ones that they want to pick, and they select the ones that's going to do their job. Because when you look at Kamala Harris, she does not represent us. She represents who's funding her campaign, just like the governor represents who's funding his campaign, just like Stephen Bradford represents the governor. So he's putting his career on the line and making it seem as though it's the governor's fault. But we knew without a shadow of a doubt, because your surrogates go to the community meetings and say, and it's not going to be no cash payouts and all of that. So I'm glad that, the light is on the California legislator. So now the big boys can come up in there, and basically fight for what's right, because Gavin Newsom, he wants to continue to be the governor. And I believe he has ambition to run for president. And so we should hold our vote, just like they want to hold up reparations. Let's boycott and hold our vote and make sure that they feel it. OK. And when I say hold our vote, I'm not saying don't vote. I'm saying is we just won't vote for them. So we can actually groom the right individuals that's going to be, represent the people, to be the people's person, run a party for the people. And I saw a brother in the tundra of California, in the California legislature, he had a 1619 reparations party shirt on. And I rock mine today. I rock mine every day. OK, I got merch. So if you want to let me know, tap in, hit that Cash App, I'll get it out to you. But we'll talk about that. It's not about that right now. I got to get this content out here, and I got to get you guys to start understanding and resonating in your minds what's really going on, because we got to make them feel it. What are we going to do? OK, they held it up. It's not going down this year. But what are we going to do? Are you willing to hold on to your vote? OK, but we have to exercise our constitutional right. So I'm a believer in God. OK, I understand that there's third party coalitions and things like that. And people sit back and say, oh, you're just throwing your vote away. No, I'm exercising my constitutional right. And I don't want to be molested or raped socially, economically, and politically by this two-tier government that we've been supporting this whole time. Now, and I understand, if you invest in, if you're vested in the Democratic Party, if you're a woman, if you're a member of the LGBTQ community, and even if you are a baby boomer, I understand it. OK, but part of the reparations bill said if you over 70 years old, you do $1.6 million, because if you could prove that you was in the state of California for 7 decades, you could talking about $1.6 million in your bank account. And I'm sure it doesn't matter who the president will be if that were to happen. So I'm saying is we have to organize as people, as God-fearing Christians and believers in Christ, because I'm a Christ. I'm not a Christian. A Christian is something like I'm what they call a Christ. I'm literally trying to do his work, do what he did when he was here, because I remember when they would say, what would Jesus do? We know without shadow of a doubt, what did he do? He didn't come to change the scribe. He didn't come to change the Sadducee or the Pharisees. He didn't come to change nothing. He came to fulfill. And he left a place for us to do what we need to do. And what we need to do is fulfill. That's what we need to do, fulfill. And he didn't support the scribes of the Pharisees, which is today's liberals and today's conservatives, because the leaders killed him. You can find that in the book of Luke. The leaders killed him. OK, who's the leaders? Our legislators. Who's the leaders? Our government. Who's the leaders? And they use religious leaders to to pander to their constituents or to their church members, to supporting an organization or an operation that pretty much is in violation of a class action RICO charge by the people. So think about that. So what are we going to do? What's the next move? I say we boycott. OK, when I say boycott, I mean hold your vote ransom. Let them know. Get out there and say, I'm not voting for you. OK, because on election day, you could go in there and do what you want to do. OK, but we're going to vote. But I'm going to go in and I'm going to write in Jesus Christ as a write-in candidate, pretty much on everything as a protest, because I cannot choose between being raped I can't choose my rapist. I can't choose my molester. I can't choose, my killer. Because at the end of the day, it's not flesh and blood. It's powers, principalities, evildoers in high places. And I can't support either of the two-tier parties of the two parties. So I will be boycotting, because when I saw on the news brothers that I know and have conversations with protesting on the final night, and this bill didn't even hit the House floor and didn't even get a chance to vote on because the governor's office came back with two bills, SB 1403, SB 1331. 1403 is an agency to create an agency, and 1331 is to allocate $14 million to the Cal State school system. So they want to introduce another study instead of accepting the recommendations of cash payouts. And I applaud Stephen Bradford out of Gardena for working hard and doing what he's doing. But, you know, he can't do it by himself. He's an elected official. His hands are tied. And we as individuals got to figure this thing out and start working together as a people outside of the two-party system. And this is our way out. This is our exodus. OK, I don't want to vote for abortion. I want to vote for the economy, but I can't support the Republican Party because they work in cahoots together. So I will be holding my vote, and I will be using my constitutional right, writing in my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ as president, as a protest boycott vote. And anybody that got the courage, anybody that got the heart, anybody that really knows and understand how this thing works, that you have to do something to get something. OK, and if we are just sitting back acting as if we're just going to roll with the flow, and then if we just sit back and say, well, I'm just not going to show up at the polls at all, then you should, you're hurting yourself and you're hurting your community. So we have to go on record. OK, just like in the biblical days. OK, when famine came, they was told to, kill an animal, kill a cow, put the calf's blood over your door. So your door could be blessed and whatever happens could go by your house. And this is what I'm saying as an individual. If we were to write in, if we're, when we write in our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, whatever happens has nothing to do with us, because you can support a Democratic Party. OK, and just say if the Democrats win and then on election day and then that year we decide to, infiltrate somebody else's country, start shooting bombs and allocate billions of dollars of aid and then go genocide a whole another entire culture and community. Think about that. This is what has happened because the Palestinians, Rashida Tlaib, she got her people to vote for the Biden-Harris administration, and all they did was vote for genocide to actually kill their people. That's all they did. They literally did that. So you got to be honest with yourselves. You got to be honest with yourselves. So think about that. So we don't want blood on our hands, but we want to separate ourselves from the two-party system because we literally got to do this thing right. We can't continue on this broken axle. We can't continue allowing them to think that we're supportive of what their narrative and their agenda that they're pushing. We got to make them feel it this year. Hold your vote ransom, boycott. That's all I'm saying. Boycott. We're not having no sit-ins. We're not having no rally. Hold your vote ransom. And just like individuals say, if voting didn't matter, why do they vote so hard for it? Okay. I don't see no Republicans fighting to get the black vote. I see Democrats because our vote matters to them because they got an assignment to do. And literally their assignment is to drive us to hell. When they say they don't want to go back, they want to keep going forward because when that wall come, when the end come, they want to take as many people with them and have as many casualties as possible. So when that happens and they sit back and say, well, we're here together, that's a lie. OK, I'm trying to transcend. So this is, like I said, the reparations, man, they lied to us straight to our face. The governor came back. Now he's pushing extra mandates on the last day. It did not get a vote. They're playing with our emotions. And then if you really think about it, Al Sharpton with his Black Action Plan, his conference, he put the mic to Kamala Harris's face and said on the day one, if elected, would you sign a reparations bill? And she said yes. So all of a sudden there will not be a reparations bill for her to say yes to because they're literally blocking it in the states. So we got to, open the doors up and get this thing from a state perspective and get it to the federal. But we can't do it, divided. OK, we got to make them feel it. They're not going to do nothing for us. So we literally got to take it, physically, literally, socially, economically, and more importantly, in the polls. So I'm saying is we got to figure this out. And there's no way we can have a cohesive conversation attaching reparations to a political party. So I'm basically going on record. Reparations is officially a nonpartisan measure. It's a non-political organization. It has nothing to do with our elected officials. And this is when we, the people, take over. We, the people, got to take over. And we're going to use the Constitution. So this is what we're doing. So it's so hard to say goodbye. But with, the way the world is going right now, you got to understand it is what it is. Think about it. It is what it is. So this is what we got to do. And I'm just wanted to, like I said, I had a different, show for you. OK, but I'm learning how to, to share the screens and do certain things. But you got to be real careful because of copyright issues and things like that. But I really wanted to go on record. So, welcome to, my new subscribers, hit the notifications. I really have to have something on the book. So when you come to my page, that we did talk about it. And today is Tuesday, September 3rd, 2023. And the reparations bill has been shelved by the governor's office, and it's delayed but not denied. Delayed but not denied. And that's all I got to say. And I can't wait, to sit with you, to have these conversations and start, the Q&A and all of that, because, I'm pretty good at it, not like our presidential Democratic candidate. So with that being said, man, y'all have a beautiful day. This is your man, Bushan Glover, Better Black America TV, betterblackamerica.com. OK. And like I said, in that left corner pocket, and I just threw the Cash App up there because somebody got in my chat and they were saying, where's your Cash App and all this. And then I went to my Cash App and I'm like, man, this is a mistake. I'm like, literally, this is a mistake. Somebody, I don't even know this person, just sent me some. And I was like, wait a minute. OK. Because like I said, the game is to be told, not sold. But we appreciate anything. And if you go to www.betterblackAmericaTV.com, we got a penny a day foundation going, a penny a day fund, and a nickel a day. And it's pretty much we invest in our nickels and our pennies in a future outside of the two-party system, because clearly, they're not like us. They don't love us. And we're the sacrificial lambs, and they're going to continue to do what they do if we let them. So who you voting for? Rapist number 1 or rapist number 2. And pretty much one is the economy and one is the abortion with no term limits. So pick your poison. So at the end of the day, this is your man, Bushan Glover, a Better Black America TV. Thanks for tuning in. And I appreciate y'all. Now hit those notifications. That's the key, because when I go up, you guys, you'll know, and we can just do this together as a people. With that being said, you have a great day. This is your man, Bushan Glover. Peace out. And I'm pausing because if I hit the end stream now, it just ends like that. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the end stream.